Hello, YouTube. I am Karis Rogerson, and I'm here with MK England, and we're talking about romance novels today.
Ooh,
So you'll be able to see in the description box more about who MK is and all their books and everything. So we're just gonna dive on in, and I'm gonna ask my first question, which is, what was your introduction to the romance genre as a reader?
yeah. So I have kind of two answers to this. As a
Nice.
reader of books, I came to it
Mm-hmm.
rather late. I want to say like 2016, 17,
Nice.
somewhere in there. My real start was in reading fan fiction.
Um,
Yes, of course. As
nice.
as a youngster, I was pretty allergic to romance, which I did
Mm-hmm.
not figure out why for a long time. Why does none of this romance appeal to me? I don't understand it. Um, Figured it
Yeah.
out eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Complicated gender orientation stuff. I got there eventually, and fan fiction is where you could find what you were looking for when you were a queer
Nice.
youngster in the like late 90s, early 2000s. God, I sound old when I say youngster. I'm gonna never say that word ever again in my life. Purged from
Yeah.
the vocab. Yeah, so shout out to Dragon Ball Z and Final Fantasy VIII, my and Farscape, the TV show Farscape, my earliest forays into romance fan fiction.
Very
And
nice.
then I eventually came around to actual romance novels
Yeah.
much later, and finally sort of broke through the prejudices that I
Hmm.
had against them. Like I had, as a lot of people do, I had a lot of misconceptions about what they were and who could
Hmm.
enjoy them. It seemed like a very gendered thing to read, and I,
Yeah.
being allergic to gender in all its forms, was like, that's not for me. Um, I got over it. It's fine, everybody.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny that you said that, because I was trying to write romances, like my first four books that I tried to write, I was like, this is gonna be a romance. MF, so straight. And then it was like
Hmm.
the girl ended up on her own. The main character would
Hmm.
be like, yeah, I think I'm better off on my own. And then I was like, why don't I write like a FF romance? And I haven't written a non-romance since. It's been like five books.
Yep.
So
Yep.
apparently I just needed to learn I was queer to
It's
understand
amazing what
romance.
it does. Yeah,
It opens up the whole world for you.
it does.
Um, yeah, I hear that a lot about fan fiction, that it's like it gets a lot of people into reading, it gets a lot of people into writing. I was afraid of fan fiction because I am afraid of authority, and I thought the authorities were going to come for me if I wrote fan fiction
Fair.
because it was stealing.
Hmm.
So
Oh,
I,
let me be clear. I did not write fan fiction until after I wrote my first novel
oh
in my
wow,
late 20s. I started
okay,
reading fan fiction when my family got our first computer in like, I don't
nice.
know, seventh grade, eighth grade, something like
The
that.
like family computer
Um,
setup, I remember those
right in the middle
days.
of the kitchen. So good.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I was like absolutely terrified to ever share anything that I wrote. So
Mm,
I might like noodle around a little bit, write a few paragraphs, maybe write 1,000 words, and then delete it all because it's all terrible. And how could I
no.
ever possibly imagine sharing anything I wrote? Haha, funny now.
Yeah, been there. Yeah.
Hmm.
I distinctly remember rewriting basically the ending of a novel I really liked and submitting it as a class assignment. And it was heavy rewriting. I was also translating it into Italian, and they loved it. And made me get up in front of the class and read it. And I
Oh,
never like attempted anything fan fiction since then because I felt so guilty. I was
oh,
like, I got 100, like I got a great score on this that's not even mine. That evangelical guilt will get you every time.
every time.
Yeah, so then once you started reading romance, what inspired you to actually start writing your own romances?
My agent at the time told me to, which is the least sexy answer of all time. But no, what really happened is I was an anxious being waiting for my first book to come out, and I couldn't
Mm,
figure out what to write next because my first agent just wasn't like vibing with what I was pitching her, and I was like, well, if I were to write anything, what do you think I should write? And she said, now, you should write what you want, but if it were up to me, I think you'd write a killer rom-com because my
okay.
work always has a lot of humor in it. That's kind of been one of my like hallmarks as a writer is
Mm-hmm.
humor. And she said, I'd love to see you put that humorous voice into a romance. And I was like, romance? I'm not doing romance. I don't read romance. I don't write romance. And then I had an idea for one, and then I read some
Nice.
romance, and then I wrote a romance, and I was like, oh, I guess I do romance. um, yeah,
The
so
things
it
you
was
learn.
entirely her fault that I took the leap, but I'm also
Hmm.
glad that she pushed me in that direction because it led me to like a really deep and sincere love of the genre, and it's now like a large chunk of what I read. So
Yeah.
it was good that I finally got the push to read romance that was not fan fiction because
Hmm.
before that that was almost exclusively
Mm,
all the romance I would read was fanfic, and that was it.
yeah. That's so interesting. Well, I'm glad that your first agent, you said it was your first agent. I'm
Yeah.
glad
Hmm.
your first agent pushed you into romance
Yeah.
because now we have your romances. And I think I might, okay, I don't have your entire publishing history memorized because that would be
Who
weird
does?
probably. Um, but what was your first romance that you published?
I guess it depends on how you define it. So all of my books have had romance in them, like romance elements. My
Gotcha.
debut was The Disasters, and it had a bisexual main character, and there were some like romantic elements to that.
Hmm.
But the first one that was like, this is a romance was The One True Me and You, which was written under my
Mm.
super secret pen name, Remy K. England, which you would never know is me. It's a
Right.
secret. It's not a secret at all. They
Yeah.
forced me to have a pen name, and so there it is.
Oh.
And that one is my like hotel where there's a teen beauty pageant and a like nerdy fan convention happening in the same weekend that I was at that fan convention. That really happened. Yes,
That's
I was
awesome.
at 221 BCon, a Sherlock Holmes convention. No, this was Gridlocked. This was a different Sherlock Holmes related convention. Um, and yeah, we were like, why are all these people wearing sparkly dresses? Oh, there's a beauty pageant
Oh
happening
my
here at the same time. So of course we were all like, "Where's the fic? There's got to be a
Right,
fic."
there's gotta be.
So I wrote that fic, except
Nice.
like not fic original, and I made up my
Yeah.
own like version of Sherlock Holmes for the fandom of the book. But anyway,
Nice.
teen beauty pageant girl, fandom girl who ends up not being a girl, sort
Mm.
of like a non-binary coming out story as well. So yeah.
I'm like, why haven't I read that yet? I don't know. I need
A
to go
lot of
buy
people
like
haven't.
5 copies. I'm gonna go buy like 5 copies.
Good
Um,
luck. I think it's largely out of print, so you can get an
well,
ebook.
that's what
You
I'll
can
do.
maybe order it from an indie bookstore that still has copies. But fun fact, Roll for Love that just came out
Hmm.
recently, my Dungeons and Dragons FF romance.
Yeah.
The main character of that originally started off as like a spin-off character from The One True Me and You. Because I
Oh,
originally pitched it as my option book and they said no. And
okay.
I said,
Well,
I'm going to write
boo.
this book
Yeah.
anyway.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, no longer Miss Oregon, but you know, in her heart, she did once do pageants while living in Oregon. Yeah.
Oh, see, they say that no writing is ever like gone, and it's true.
Hmm.
You just recycle,
Yep.
like
Yep. It's true.
pluck the characters
It's
right out.
a lot of what I've published in the last couple of years is stuff that I wrote for my first agent and she did not care for it. And then I turned it
Hmm.
around and gave it to our agent, Eric, and he sold it.
Nice.
I
Oh, I
was
love
like,
that.
a second life.
I know.
Hooray.
That's what this is only related because you just made that joke, but I've been calling we sent my YA back on sub again after it
Hmm.
died. So
Hmm.
I'm calling it my zombie book. If it sells, I'm
Yes.
gonna like it's a contemporary romance and I'm gonna be like, yeah, this is my zombie book and people are gonna be really
Hmm.
confused.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited.
Gives you a good story to tell.
Yeah, and I love a story. I'll do anything for the bit. Um,
Heck yeah.
so you recently in April of this year you published two romance novels, a
I
YA and
did.
adult.
Don't
Roll
recommend doing that, by the way. Bad idea.
That was listen, I know of people who publish like two in one year. This was the first time I've seen two in 1 month. So I can
They knew
imagine
about
that
each other too. I don't know how this scheduling thing happened, but
wow. I can
three
imagine that
weeks apart,
April
bad.
shit, like April was just like a blur probably.
Yes, March too.
Oh God. Yeah, all the lead up. But yeah,
Yep.
I'd love to know if you could talk about either or both Roll for Love, the YA, or All Fired Up, the adult, in terms of like the pitch for the books, like how you wrote them, anything you want to say about them.
Yeah, I can give a short pitch for both. So Roll for
Nice.
Love, you already know the origin story of because I just told you.
Yeah.
It's Secret passed as a rejected book that ended up being one of my favorite things I've ever written. And it
Oh, I
is
love that.
it's a YA romance novel about two country girls falling in love across the D&D table while figuring out what they want to do after high school because they both know that traditional four-year college is not for them. And
Oh, I
one's a
love that.
woodworker and one is sort of has like homesteady parents and
Mm,
a huge family of siblings and extended family that she babysits for, and she really just wants to like go into childcare and like have her garden and do her art, and like that's her life that she wants. So
yeah.
they're both trying to figure out how to make that life happen for them, uh, while playing some awesome D&D. Dungeons and Dragons, for those who don't know. Sorry.
Also,
Um,
that cover is spectacular.
my
You,
friends got me a poster printed of it because I love it so much. It's
I'm
so
just gonna
good.
say, if you're watching this and you don't already have it on your shelves, you want it on your shelves because it's gonna be really pretty. So you can put it like face
Yes,
out and just stare at it all the
it's
time.
beautiful.
Pro
I
tip.
love it. Hmm. All Fired Up. All Fired Up is the story of a professional fire starter for science and
Mm.
a firefighter falling in love while they try to prevent their best friend from bursting into flames, socially and emotionally speaking.
Yeah.
But jokes on them for reasons. So,
Oh,
they get together and do shenanigans to try to save their best friend from herself and end up
nice.
falling in love along the way. Spicy adult romance, very different from Roll for
Mm.
Love. Separate
Hmm.
those things in your mind.
Yes, one is for adults, one is for
Extremely.
YA, but adults can also
Everybody.
enjoy it. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, I recently in a Discord I'm in, someone was like, listen, there was an FF book that had a great cover that was like a firefighter and someone else, and I was like, oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about All Fired Up. And they were like, yeah, I actually was talking about that book. And I was like, perfect.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hooray. I'm
So
glad
what
people think it
would
had a great cover. Yay.
yeah. No, it did. Yeah, they both do. They're excellent covers.
I've been very
Um,
lucky with covers in my career for the
mhm,
most part.
yeah. Yeah. That's the scary part of like you never know.
You never know.
But that's a different topic.
Yes.
What was it like writing these? Did you also write them sort of around the same time?
Oh, not even slightly. No. Um, All Fired Up was so I was still with my previous agent. This was
Mm,
before it was either before the disasters came out or just after the disasters was my debut.
okay.
And but before Spellhacker came out. So I was in one of those like anxious waiting periods where I needed to be working on something or my brain would
Hmm.
consume itself. So I started writing the first three chapters of All Fired Up. My previous agent
Okay.
took it out on like a very small, limited submission. We kept getting the same feedback, and I was like, okay, I clearly have to revise this.
Gotcha.
And then I ended up writing the whole first half, but we never did anything with it until I signed with Eric. But then right after
Okay.
I signed with Eric in 2020,
Hmm.
COVID happened, had a baby, like
Oh my
life.
God.
And then suddenly, like, I went from, oh my God, my career is over. I have nothing going on after my first two books to like, now I have five books under contract and I have to just do those. So All Fired Up sat around for years. And I think we finally
Okay.
sold it in 2023, maybe, and
Okay.
it came out in 2025. That sounds right,
That does
probably.
sound right.
Um, so it had a long tail
Wow.
of it had a long journey.
Hmm.
Um, Roll for Love was relatively quick in the grand scheme of things. It was after I turned in the One True Me and You. I pitched them and One True Me and You came
Hmm.
out in 2022.
Okay.
So I pitched them this. They said no, and I said fine. I'm taking my toys somewhere else. Uh, and we sold it to Running Press.
Nice.
And yeah, and then I had to write the rest of the book, and that was it for that.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful story of like in publishing, sometimes you've just got to take the no and be like, well, to spite
Yep.
you, I'm gonna do it anyway. Which is
Yeah.
actually a sentiment that I associate like entirely with Eric because I think he's posted about it so much. So I'm like, oh
Hmm.
yeah. I need to channel that a lot more in my life.
Yep. Things can
Um,
always have a life of some kind.
yeah, when a no is just a mistake on their part.
Well, I've
Um,
even known people who, had books that fully died on submission and then they
hmm
sold something else later and were able to tack that book on
Yep.
as like a second book on a later deal or something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes dead books are just dead, but
hmm
that something from every book we write and
Yeah.
you know, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, and especially having been on sub, which I mean, I started querying in 2014, so I spent like 9 years in
Hmm.
publishing, but not on sub.
Yeah.
But having been on sub, it's like so many times it's a pass, but it's not because they didn't like it. So like if you
Hmm.
find a way to get like to the same editor with a different book, they might be really happy to take
Yeah.
the book that they previously passed on because they actually
Yep.
really liked it. They just couldn't get it through acquisitions or like
Timing is bad or
they
yeah,
just bought another
exactly.
queer book about a secret GSA,
Hmm. Man,
which
sad.
happened.
Oh,
What what is the best or most fun thing about writing romance?
ooh. What is the best thing about writing romance? I think this is probably like a very stereotypical answer, but you just get to go on a feelings roller coaster, except you
Mm.
get to drive it. So you can go like, man, we've been having a good time. Time for a big drop. Woo! And you
hmm
are in control of like building that track for the roller
Oh
coaster.
my
And I
God.
just think that's pretty rad.
That's I've actually never heard it described that way, but it is. I mean, it's perfect. So,
It's
yeah.
it's getting to like relive that flush of first love all over
hmm
again and
hmm
sometimes getting to relive things that have happened in your past or things that could have been or
hmm
just diving into all kinds of feelings. Like I feel yeah, I feel like that's one of the most wonderful things about romance as like an adult queer is getting
hmm
to go back and like sort of give experiences to my younger self, whether that younger self is 16 or 26 or
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt that when I was writing the book I signed with Eric with, which is a terrible sentence, but
Hmm.
um I had so many moments of being like, this was not the teenagehood that I had. I
Yeah.
did not know I could have it, but now I get to give it to these characters, and one of them is like already out, and one of them learns that she's queer throughout the book, and it was just really like, I don't know, it's really special to be able to sort of like quote unquote live that
Yeah.
in a similar sort of environment to my actual high school years, but I didn't go
Mm.
through that in high school. I was, you know, in love with a boy. Who knows why? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In quotes. Okay, so specifically with All Fired Up, which I think was it your first adult romance?
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
So it was your first adult romance and you have a background in kidlit, you've written sci-fi, like were there any surprises that came with writing this book?
How hard contemporary is. Which is not to say that I expected it to be easy, but I did
hmm
expect it to be like writing any other book.
hmm
And it's super not. There are no explosions to hide behind. There is no like
Yeah.
run. Well, I shouldn't say no. I mean, maybe some romances have explosions and running from the cops and those things.
Right.
Mine did not have those things. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, boy, without a spaceship or without like a heist going on, what do people do?
Oh my
What do
God.
people do in these books? They just like sit around and have feelings? I don't understand this.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not the only thing that happens, but that is a lot of it. And I
Yeah.
had a very hard time figuring out just like what is supposed to happen in a contemporary
hmm
novel.
hmm
Um, that so yeah, that surprised me.
Yeah. All of my contemporary romances are a result of me calling up a friend and being like, all right, picture this. Two girls, boarding school.
Hmm.
They fall in love in a bathroom because it has heated floors and they're insomniacs. But what happens? And my friends are like, maybe they start a GSA. And I'm like, perfect, we're doing it.
Great, we're rolling with
Like,
it.
I just call my friends and I'm like, give me a plot. And they're like,
Hmm.
I guess, like, maybe they're getting revenge on a guy. And I'm like, I can work with that.
I can plot all day in any other
Yeah.
genre, but contemporary, I'm just like, I don't know what happens in real life.
It's hard. I struggle with getting into the speculative because I'm like I either go to one extreme or the other where I'm like either the magic is has the like hardest rules known to man or it's just a
Hmm.
vibe. And
Yeah.
neither seems to be working for me yet.
Oh,
Gotta
you'll
find
find
my
your
middle
way.
ground.
Yeah.
Great times. Do you have any advice for aspiring, specifically romance authors?
Yes. I feel like in some ways my advice for romance authors is really the my advice for all authors writing
Hmm.
anything.
Hmm.
Which is when you started writing a story, there was like something shiny at the core of it that you were like, this is my thing. This is my precious.
Hmm.
This is what makes
Hmm.
this story unique to me. This is like the element that makes it stand out. Um, and that's what you got to chase the whole time. Like that's what you got to keep in mind. Follow your shiny thing and like guard it and polish it and take wonderful care of it throughout the whole story because that is like the
Hmm.
rail that your whole story is going to be built
Oh,
upon. And that's the thing that's going to make you stand out in the query, slush pile
yeah.
or on submission. It's you got to have a sparkle, and whatever that sparkle is, that's usually what makes it fun to write too.
Hmm.
So I don't necessarily just mean the hook, though maybe the
Right.
hook is your shiny thing, but it's whatever it is that makes you desperate to write this
Gotcha.
story. And I think that even if that's not the hook, it will become an element
Hmm.
of the hook of the story just by the fact that you're going to put so much time and focus and attention and love into that element of the story.
I love that. And I love that
Yeah.
it can be different from like the hook. Because I'm thinking of the project that I'm revising right now where it's like I think of the hook as like the two women come together to get revenge on a shitty man. I don't know, that's
Hmm.
the hook to me. But the like shiny sparkly thing was like I really wanted to write a celebrity normal person romance.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure. Like in All Fired Up, the hook is obviously, fire starter and
hmm.
firefighter do shenanigans. But the shiny for me is
Yeah.
that through line of like, man, it's really hard to let stuff go. And whether it's people, whether it's what you thought your life was going to be, whether it's like
Hmm.
an identity or something like that, it is so hard to let shit go and just like let yourself move forward into a new space.
Hmm.
And that I think is what is resonating with readers most about that book. From the
Right.
limited bit that I've seen, it's that
Yeah.
element of it that is making the book come alive. And the fire stuff is just like window dressing.
Right. Like that's the heart of it. That's what got you excited to write. And so that's like that translates
Hmm.
across the page because books are not static. Like
Yeah.
I almost went really like woo woo and was like they're living, breathing organisms. And I was like, okay, calm down. But when it comes to like actual romance writing, like the sitting down, the drafting, the conceptualizing, the craft of it all, like what are your best tips and tricks?
Mm. I think for romance specifically, probably this applies to everything, but I think this is really important in romance. I think from the start, you got to keep the friends in mind
Mm.
because it's really, with a romance novel, obviously we've got at least two or more
Hmm.
people who are involved in like a romantic situation, and that's sort of the core focus of the story. But I think so much is revealed about a character by who not who their friends are, but like what your best friend says to you to call you on your bullshit, or like how you interact with your best friend, the things you tell your best friend, the ways your best friends like hold you up and bring you back down to earth. Like all of those little interactions, I think say so much about your main characters and
Hmm.
also in an intense romantic situation, like what are you doing? You're calling your friends, you're
Yeah.
talking to people, you're like talking out the vibe with other people, you're complaining to your friend about whatever's going on. It's I think those relationships are just as important, and I think to
Hmm.
neglect them would be a big disservice. So yeah, that's my tip to romance writers. Find the friends.
I love that because it's a tip for writing, but also a tip for life. It's like,
Yeah,
I feel like okay, I read an article and it gave me the idea that we really we value romantic partnerships and relationships way over anything platonic.
for
And so
sure.
then if
Yeah.
you're not in a romance, you're like, ooh, okay, mm. When I'm not in a romance, I'm like, oh my God, like it's so sad. And then I have like all my friends who are like, hello?
No, we're here. We matter. Hello.
Yeah. And it's like, oh
Yeah.
wait, no, yeah, you guys do matter so much and like continue to matter when, even in romances. So it's life tip
Yes,
and writing tip. And
for sure.
the my first romance that I ever wrote came because it was my "'Tis the Damn Season" book where the Taylor Swift song.
Hmm.
And my friend was like, why doesn't this girl have any like female friends? And I was like, oh, good call. I'll give her a best friend. And I put them in a room together and I was like, oh, can fell in love with each other.
This just
And
got
that's,
better.
yeah, I was like, whoa. I've never like felt that chemistry between two characters just like jump at me from the page. It was
Yeah,
delightful.
awesome.
Okay, so this is my favorite question, but it's can you share any scale one real life romance moment you have lived or witnessed or heard about? And it can be anything from like a story you lived through to like you saw a cute first date at Starbucks.
Yeah. No, that I will forever be plagued by the girl who sat in front of me in Latin class, in
Oh.
college. Um, no, I think in some ways all of my books, and I mean probably all of them, are just an extension of that like absolute agony of being at a sleepover in your teenage years and like sleeping in the same bed as your best friend that you're in love with and just being like, wake up and turn over, wake up and turn over, wake up and turn over. Nope, you're still sleeping. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go to sleep now. And then you lay awake all night. I feel like that's just like every book I've ever written and probably every book I ever will write is just
Yeah.
like all of that like pent up angstiness coming out in book
Yearning.
form. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Maybe a
Oh,
universal experience, maybe not, but I know it's one
yeah.
that I've heard a lot of from others.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, let's talk about other books. Do you have 1 to 3 plus romance recommendations for people?
Yes, I am always that person that's like, "Oh no, what's a book I've read? Any book ever."
Yeah.
My mind just goes blank. So I have a few. So first of all, like let's just get the obvious one out of the way. Obviously, Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake is great. It was a
Hmm.
huge influence on All Fired Up when I was trying to
Nice.
revise it and get it into shape. I
Hmm.
also have just been an Ashley Herring Blake fan since her middle grade books, which are just
Hmm.
fantastic. I highly recommend them.
Yeah.
If her adult romance is all you've read, then also check out those middle grade ones. A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole was
Ooh,
one of
okay.
the first romance books that I ever read. And I remember picking it up and the pitch is great. It's like this woman gets one of those like Nigerian prince scam
Hmm.
emails, except it's actually real. um, and I remember being like very amused by the concept, but then
Hmm.
this female lead character was so smart and so savvy,
Mm.
and I loved her voice, and I proceeded to devour like everything Alyssa Cole wrote. I think
Yeah.
Alyssa Cole is fantastic. So
Hmm.
yes, definitely those. And I'm gonna mess up this title. It's that, and also the author name. So sorry, Maiga Ducey,
Hmm.
maybe Sorcery and
That's what
Small
I've heard.
Magics or something
Yeah.
like that. Loved
Yeah.
that book. Hope there's a book two. Hope it's soon.
Yeah.
I really just enjoyed the heck out of that extremely slow burn. That I
Ooh.
think is not even really done burning yet. Hence the book two.
Wow.
So come on,
That is a
Micah
slow
Ducey,
burn.
hook me up.
Just email me.
Just pour it into my eyeballs. Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah. Um, Is there anything else that you would like to say?
Mm. There is a book two coming for All Fired Up,
Oh my God.
and it is featuring Willow from the first book, who is one of the members of the friend group who is non-binary and keeps disappearing into the woods for reasons that you will find out in book two.
I can't
And
wait.
it's I feel like I can't even say what it's about without spoiling it, which I guess I'll have to figure out before I write the cover copy. Um, but there's a lot of like woodsy farming stuff and a lot of mushrooms in that book, which sounds strange, but I love it to pieces. And then I also have a cozy fantasy coming out next year as well, a couple months before that. And it also has a romantic element with a happily ever after in there, but it is not
Love
like
it.
a romantasy. It's
Hmm.
definitely like cozy romance. But
Hmm.
that book is legit my favorite thing I've ever written, and I
Okay.
can't wait to share it. I'm very excited.
Amazing. I can't wait. Yeah, I'm super excited for these. Um, yeah. I don't know why. I had like five thoughts and they all just like vanished when I tried to look at them. So
My
that's all.
superpower. Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much for talking to me and being my video interview guinea pig.
Hey, happy to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, of course. All right. And that's the recording is stopping.